Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Captain's Table. I am your host, Captain B-Nard, and topic of discussion today is going to be a review and reflection of the RoDL4. For those of you who missed my last battle video, you might not know exactly what's going on here. For those of you who did watch, then you might have some kind of idea, but I am going to begin this video with a detailed explanation as to what actually went down at the end of the tournament here. I want to start off by saying that I have made the decision following the events of week 10 in the league to actually drop out of the league with just 2 weeks left to go. We did officially do that several days ago. And this is not a decision that I take very lightly. It's one that I gave a lot of consideration to, but I'm going to kind of explain everything to you guys so that you guys can hopefully understand my thought process behind it. And then we'll do the typical thing that we usually do on these videos where I kind of go over the season and Pokemon and all that kind of stuff as well. Um, I kind of want to begin by talking to you guys about the beginning of the season here and just kind of take you guys through the whole season and everything that kind of led up to this point so that you guys can have the best understanding possible as to where I'm at right now and my mindset as far as everything goes so that you guys can maybe hopefully understand why I made the decision that I did make. Um, right off the cuff in the beginning of the season here in the RoDL4, I had quite a lot of scheduling problems. And what I mean by that is typical stuff such as different time zones with players, which is to be expected in certain leagues, but for whatever reason in this league, that seemed to be at an all-time high. There were a ton of players who uh, are in time zones in England, Europe, Russia, that kind of stuff, and those people are about 6 to 10 hours ahead of me. I live in Pennsylvania in the United States, so that is Eastern Standard Time. So time zone gaps did play a big factor from the very get-go of this league, more so than usual in any league that I've been in. And I know some leagues try to, like if they're U.S. based, for example, they'll try to ensure that most of their player base are in one of the three, or I guess four technically, time zones in the United States, so as to kind of minimize this time zone gap issue. But for whatever reason, in this league, there just seem to be an awful lot of people in those far out time zones from where I am anyway. In any event, so that was definitely an issue from day one. Another issue that I seemed to have a lot was with my opponent's scheduling. And what I mean by that is I had a lot of games this season where we were scheduled to play our match at a specific day and time, obviously, and then right literally at the exact time that our game was supposed to start, I would contact my opponent, or usually a little before the game was supposed to start, actually, is the way that I usually do it. I would contact my opponent and say, hey, are we still good to go to have the battle at this time? You know, X, Y, and Z. And they would not get back to me until literally right as the battle was supposed to be starting to say, hey, I have something else that I want to do, or something else that came up, or whatever. Can we push the battle back a couple hours, or can we reschedule it to another day entirely? And that happened an awful lot in this season, too. And I understand that real life can be fickle, can be unpredictable. I understand stuff happens. But it seems to me that that shouldn't happen pretty much every week. And I actually kept count, and of all 10 weeks that I participated in this league, I believe it was something like 7 out of 10 of those weeks had one or more of these scheduling issues with either just a really massively different time zone, which led to a battle having to be scheduled on a weekend only. And for those of you who don't know, these leagues usually run from like a week in the league usually runs from Monday to Sunday. So if you're waiting till Saturday or Sunday to do the game, that's pretty much the end of the week for the battle to be done. So then, if a scheduling issues occurs at that point, then you're kind of in trouble. So that's why I don't like to wait till the end of the time window to try and get my battles in. So in any event, that was a very common problem as well this season. So all of that kind of culminated in week 10. Now, in week 10, it was kind of the same situation as far as we had a scheduled day and time for our game, and literally right at the exact time that the game was supposed to be starting, my opponent said that they had something else to do and asked to push the battle back a couple hours. So I was able to accommodate that. That's what we did. And then at the new scheduled battle time, my opponent actually ghosted me. So for several hours, actually, I was just kind of hanging, waiting to see if the game was going to happen or not. And the game ended up not happening. So that coach actually contacted the league several hours later to notify everyone that due to personal reasons they were going to be forfeiting and dropping out of the league. And I said, you know, that's fine. I understand. Good luck with everything, all that type of thing, which is reasonable, obviously. Um, and so at that point, I kind of figured, okay, done deal. I should, according to the rules of the league, at that point, I should be getting a forfeit victory this week. Um, Not only that, and this is a piece of information that I didn't know up until recently, is that they actually entered that forfeit victory for me on the official league website. I assume that night or maybe early the next morning. So it was a done deal at that point, essentially. But the next day, the heads of the league actually found a replacement coach for uh, that coach that had dropped out. And so they decided that they wanted to, not only they, but also the replacement coach was extremely insistent for whatever reason on having this game with me take place. So just to recap, so my opponent in this situation first postpones the game, then ghosts on the game, then forfeits, then drops out, and then I'm actually given the win via forfeit, technically in the books. And then at that point, um, the next day I'm told that I have to play the game. And this is a problem for several different reasons. One is obviously it flies in direct uh, contradiction with the actual black and white rules in the league of the league itself, which states that if you ghost someone on a battle, that's an automatic forfeit. But aside from that, it's an issue for me because I've already made obviously other plans, um, and I don't have any time left to battle for the next several days. So, um, after a lengthy debate with not only the new coach but also the heads of the league, they decide, I guess, that um, I have to play this battle. So I juggle my schedule around, and I'm able to squeeze the game in at night. And so I do the game, and unfortunately, I lose the game. So now I'm in a situation where I've had a win literally ripped away from me for, in my opinion, people deciding that they don't want to follow the rules. So that's a big sticking point for me because I bend over backwards in every league that I join in to honor my commitments. To when I say I'm going to show up for a game at a day and a time, I show up for that game on that day and time. I actually bend my personal life and my personal plans that I have often around getting these league games done, specifically if it's with an opponent in a vastly different time zone than me. For example, there were a number of Saturdays where I pretty much had to sacrifice my entire day Saturday, which is one of the few only days that I get off during the week from work, in order to accommodate a battle with someone in like an 8 hour different time zone from me. And that's something I did because, in my mind, that's just part of what comes with the territory of being in the league. So I take my commitments very seriously, and I guess not everybody uh, does the same. And don't get me wrong, again, I understand real life, things happen, plans have to change sometimes, but to me, it doesn't feel like that should be every week. And that's kind of what it turned into. Um, so I guess at that point, I kind of had a decision to make because I really didn't want to continue after that happened, but I was very torn because I've never dropped out of a league before, and I didn't want to. I wanted to see it through. Um, but I was thinking about it, and it just kind of hit me out of the blue that this is not fun anymore. I'm not having fun anymore with this. And that's what kind of made the decision for me because I'm a content creator on YouTube. I have been for a long time now. I do this for fun. This is not my career. And again, I do want to get one thing straight also, and I don't mean this in a hostile way or anything, but I'm not an 18-year-old kid who sits in front of a TV all day playing video games. I'm a grown man. I have a home. I have a personal life. I have a career. I have responsibilities that any adult would, and then some. And I make time throughout all of that to do these games, to play these games because it's something that I enjoy doing, and YouTubing is something that I enjoy doing. And at that moment when I was thinking about that, like I said, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm not enjoying this anymore. This has become not only not fun, but this has become a burden. This has become a problem. And it shouldn't be that because at the end of the day, this is a game, right? Pokemon is a game. You play it to have fun. And yes, I am a competitive person. I like to compete in things as well. But at this point, this is no longer fun. And I don't mean this in any, um, hostile way once again, but this season of this league has actually been the most unfun season of any draft league that I've ever participated in, including this very draft league one season ago. And I'm not really sure what happened, to be honest with you, but um, it just, I don't know, it turned into that, and it turned into something that was just no longer fun for me, and that kind of made the decision for me a lot easier because, like I said, I was very torn as to whether I did want to drop out or not. So that kind of made the decision for me that I just I'm burned out. I will admit though I'm a little burned out on Sword and Shield at this point as well. The game has its issues from a competitive standpoint. The timer is awful, as I've discussed at length. The limitations on the Pokemon, no Mega is not the full Dex. Um, you know, definitely decrease the replay value of the game to a great extent. Um, but even with the land timer this season, that was kind of a double-edged sword, which I guess I'll talk about in a second here. Um, but yeah, so after all of that, I kind of made the decision that this was my time to, you know, exit the league. So I do want to apologize to any fans out there who might have been looking forward to me finishing the league. I just kind of hit a wall with everything happening this season, and like I said, culminating in what happened week 10, to the point that I just didn't want to be there anymore. Um, and I mean, no ill will or hard feelings toward anyone. I want to be clear about that. I understand, like I said, I understand things happen, and things are what they are, and sometimes people, when they make these decisions, they don't fully understand the ramifications of the decision that they're making and how it might affect someone else. Um, but that's just kind of where it is. I feel like I've been a very diligent and very reliable league participant in every league I've been in, including this one. But like I said, I just kind of got burned out, kind of hit a wall, and just felt like I had to go. So that just kind of is what it is. And so I'm not really sure if I'm going to be doing any more draft leagues for a while. Um, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'll get back into it when the Diamond and Pearl remakes come out at the end of the year or next year. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's kind of, I'm just kind of not sure what I want to do as far as draft leagues go from this point because, like I said, this one just really didn't turn the way I wanted it to. Um, but yeah, I guess that's really all I have to say about that. So I guess thank you to everybody for listening to my monologue on that. If you have this far, um, but having said all of that, I do want to do my usual recap of the season here. So I'm gonna have some stats for you guys right here in 1 second. Let's see here. Okay. So here up on the screen, I have the team that I initially drafted in, and this was my team that I had weeks 1 through 3 of the league. So we have Urshifu single strike. That was really the big player that I drafted round 1 on the team here. That was the really the star player, the MVP of the team. Um, then, of course, coming in at number 2, as always, it's Gudra, the de facto team captain of the Philadelphia Pidgeys, tried and true on every version of the Pidgeys team. Then we had Jellicent, returning Pokemon from the NGDL4 Championship Philadelphia Pidgeys. We have Arcanine, Escavalier, Comfey, Rhydon, Cresselia, another returning NGDL4 Championship Philadelphia Pidgey, and then Cramorant and Avalugg to round the team off. So, looking back on it, I was relatively happy with this draft when I started, but looking back on it, I do see a few more issues with the team that I had initially seen. So I feel like I definitely could have done a better job getting more reliable hazard setters and hazard removal uh, Pokemon. That was really the, I guess, two things that looking back on the team I probably would have changed. But in any event, we had this was the team in weeks 1 through 3, so we ended up winning our week 1 game. Got off to a good start in the season with that victory, and then we proceeded to lose games 2 and 3. I'm not going to spend too much time on any of this stuff, as I kind of just don't feel like it this time around. But yeah, so we're going to move on then. And it was at this point that I made my first transaction of the season, and that was to drop the Rhydon and the Avalugg, two Pokemon that I actually never even used in a single game, to go ahead and grab Regirock. The reason I did that is because I wanted a more reliable hazard setter on the team to try and fix that issue that I had prior. So grab the Regirock. It is definitely a very solid Mon. And yeah, so we ended up actually losing our week 4 game though. Then we won weeks 5 and 6 actually via forfeit, because I guess those coaches actually decided that they were going to do the right thing, because those were situations in which they ended up bailing on our games, and they had made the decision that they were again going to do the right thing and follow the actual league policy and forfeit the game since they bailed on the game with me. but I digress. Um, and then week 7, we ended up taking a loss in that week as well. So, moving right along, we are going to come to the next transaction or transactions that I made, and that was to go ahead and drop the Jellicent and the Regirock actually in order to pick up Inteleon, Sandaconda, and Wigglytuff once again, which is actually a returning Philadelphia Pidgey from the RoDL3 last season of this draft league. So, reason I did this is because I came to the conclusion at this point in the league, I didn't have a great record. I was really trying to save the season at this point, and the Jellicent and the Regirock just didn't really have as much synergy as I wanted with the rest of the team. And I didn't really want to cut either one of them, but it was kind of like they were the um, more expendable of the high point value or higher point value Pokemon that I had. So, so I decided that they had to go. I brought on the Inteleon for some more speed on the team. I felt like that was needed because one other thing that the team was a little bit in lack of was something that was really fast. So we brought that in. We brought the Sandaconda in for a couple of reasons, actually, to counter our Week 8 opponent, or to try and counter it, since he had a Sand team with the Sand Veil, the hidden ability of the Sandaconda, and also for another reliable hazard setter, and also of the ground for that electric immunity, which is something else that just a little thing that we kind of lacked. Um, but yeah, and then the Wigglytuff just kind of picked that up because we had an extra point and thought, maybe at some point we might bring it. Although we didn't end up bringing that at all this season in any game, even though it was only around for the last 3 games. But in any event, so we lost our Week 8 game. Then unfortunately did win the Week 9 game, and then I already at length discussed the Week 10 game. So don't need to really cover that anymore. We did lose that one as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put some stats up on the screen here as per the usual. So here we have a little chart of all the Pokemon that were part of the RoDL4 Philadelphia Pidgeys, and we have what I like to call the UKD ratio, which is amount of games that they were used in to how many knockouts they picked up to how many times they were knocked out. So usage to kill to death ratio. So from the top down, you can see, and I just kind of lumped in everything on this one graphic, perfectly low quality as is the norm for the captain's table. Yeah, I lumped in all the Pokemon that were currently on the team and the ones that were transacted away throughout the season, all on one page this time. But you can see at the top we have the Urshifu single strike and the Gudra at 8 appearances each. So we actually only ended up playing 8 games this season because we had, of course, the forfeit victories weeks 5 and 6, and then we, of course, as I mentioned at length, dropped out after week 10. So we only ended up actually playing 8 games this season. So Urshifu and Gudra came every game. And then Cresselia and Arcanine next down on the list. Both came 7 out of 8 games, and then Escavalier there after that came 6 out of 8 games. So those were really the cornerstones of the team. Urshifu and Gudra, then to a slightly less extent Cresselia and Arcanine, and then to a slightly less extent than that Escavalier. That ended up being one of those other little issues that I had with the team, is that it was really hard to try and rotate Mons out because the best Mons that I had, kind of most of them worked together, or most of them needed each other. So it was really hard to kind of rotate Mons out for other ones. So I didn't do too much of that this season. I know in seasons past there was a little more variety, I think, but that might also have to do with the fact that there's definitely less games, significantly less games this season than in other ones. So after that, we dropped down all the way to Jellicent, brought that 3 times, and then Inteleon, Sandaconda, Comfy, and Cramorant all came twice. Regirock came to one game, and then of course at the bottom, Avalugg, Rhydon, and Wigglytuff did not come a single game. So yeah, that was the RoDL4 Philadelphia Pidgeys. Unfortunately, not quite the season that we had hoped for by any stretch of the imagination. But we finished at 4-6. That was something that I guess I didn't mention. That was on the initial thumbnail. But yeah, we did finish 4-6. Um, Not a good record, obviously. I guess it could have been worse. But I guess when I look at what we kind of had to go through to even make that happen, and then it kind of ended up being all for naught at the end anyway because of the way that things turned out. Um, you know, not thrilled, but I guess it just kind of is what it is at this point. But yeah, those were all the stats for all of Mons. So, um, I guess I'll take a second to deliver some closing remarks then. Um, like I said, overall, definitely not the season I was hoping for. Um, it kind of started out fine, but then it was really just a gradual progression down the hill, unfortunately, with just kind of week after week after week of issues with either time zones or opponents delaying or not showing up for games. And yeah, just like I said, it all kind of culminated in what happened last week, in week 10. Um, and again, I don't take any pleasure in having to drop out of the league. Like I said, it's something that I really didn't want to do, but something that I felt that I had to do given just how I was feeling and the situation that I was in. I suppose we could have tried to tough it out, but I don't know. I just didn't really see a point anymore in doing that. Um, I guess technically we could have still made it to the playoffs if we had won our last two games in the league. But to be honest with you guys, at that point in the season, well, not only was it pretty unlikely that that was going to happen, um, we just the will was not there anymore to want to continue after everything. And like I said, it wasn't just week 10, it was really a gradual progression throughout the entire season of just week after week after week of issues. And like I said, when a game gets to a point that it's just not fun anymore, um, I think that's when you know that it's time to call it a day. So yeah, as far as the future of the channel goes, I always talk about that after these. Going to be going back to business as usual, essentially. So we're going to be um, going back to having fun battles, hopefully free battles. I do have a new team, one at least lined up for you guys that I'm pretty excited about. So I'm excited to get back to just doing free battles, some fun battles. Also going to try to do more episodes of the Captain's Table podcasts here. And yeah, so like I said, we're just going to keep going and see where it goes from there. So hopefully, if we decide to join another draft league in the future, which again, I'm not really sure if we want to do at this point or, for a while. If we do decide to do that, hopefully things will work out better than this one did. It didn't. It just didn't pan out. And again, I don't begrudge anyone specifically for the way that things turned out. It was just a combination of a lot of things that kind of led me to the place that I ended up being in at the end of the season here. But yeah, we'll just have to see what happens from this point forward. But yeah, I am definitely excited to continue to turn out content for you guys in some manner. So hopefully you guys will be interested in seeing that. So, yeah, I think that'll do it. So, thanks for watching again, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, share the video if you did enjoy, and stay tuned for more new videos in the future. So, that's it, and we'll see you next time.